Hello, and welcome to the show that, despite the pleas of our families and friends, simply will not stop talking about D&D.
So, ready your spells and weapons, grab the shiniest set of your math rocks, and prepare for critical friendship.
So today we are talking about spells and spell slots. Blake, how do you want to do this?
Well, first, I would like to, address the Tarask in the room of spellcasting being one of the more complicated concepts, especially for new players to learn.
Sure is.
Especially if you've got one player and they've played one type of spellcaster and then they move over to a completely different type, and then they're like, oh yeah, spells work like this, and it's like, well, actually they don't with that character, because it's like, okay, they've been playing a sorcerer, so they have their spells known, and then they start playing a druid and they go, well, it doesn't show me on the class chart how many spells I know at this level, and it's like, well, because it's not based on that.
Yeah.
So there's several different kinds. There are prepared spellcasters and known spellcasters.
Yes.
Prepared spellcasters would be your druids, clerics, wizards. Wizards are kind of a hybrid between the two.
Yeah.
And then paladins. So prepared spellcasters, they basically get all of their spells that they're able to cast, and then they prepare a certain amount of them each day, and it's usually equal to their level or half their level plus their spellcasting ability modifier.
Yeah.
Right? So, if I'm not mistaken, so like with druids, for example, you prepare a number of spells each day equal to your wisdom modifier, because druids are wisdom casters, plus your level. So say a 5th level druid with a wisdom of 16. Right?
Okay.
That would give them a wisdom modifier of 3, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And then I said 5th level, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so 5 plus 3.
So it'd be 8.
That's how many you can prepare per day.
Okay.
So with each level up, you'll get, an additional one you can prepare each day. And then with certain levels up, you'll unlock new spell slots, which we'll get into in a moment.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll be able to cast higher level spells and therefore prepare higher level spells.
Right.
And then, of course, there's other classes like the Warlock and the Sorcerer that are spells known, where in the player's handbook, it will tell you how many spells you get at certain levels. And then once you memorize that spell, you just have it.
Right, yeah.
Wizards are the same. They're kind of halfway in between, because each level they get to add new spells to their spell book. However, they also will prepare spells from their spell book based on their class level plus their intelligence modifier.
Right. So, like, for a wizard, just to clarify, because I keep going to play a wizard and I'm like, I can never remember how to do this. So you have access to however many spells you have learned, but you have to prepare from that total list.
Yes,
a certain amount.
So each level up, a wizard can add 2 spells for free to their spell book. But they also, like, say you get a scroll of Fireball.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're a moron and you've already reached 3rd level and you haven't added Fireball to your spell book, first of all, what are you doing? But say you find a scroll of Fireball. If you go out and you get the I think it's a certain amount of material in ink and pens and
Paper.
scribing material.
Yeah.
You can add that scroll, that spell, you can copy it into your spell book.
Mm-hmm.
Now that's one of your known spells.
Yeah.
Right? Because you're just basically carrying around a big, grimoire of the different spells that you've learned over time.
Mm-hmm.
But each day, or each long rest, you can go through and pick which spells you're going to memorize and essentially, like, hold in your mind for that day.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, because it always going through like that, the tables and stuff they have on whatever D&D Beyond or even on the app that we use, the 5e character sheet. like it tells you how many
Spell slots you have.
how many spell slots you have, but that doesn't tell you how many spells you can cast necessarily. It's like it's very confusing sometimes, which
Yeah, the wizard took me a little while to figure out because when I was first looking to play, I was drawn towards spellcasters because I'm like, hey, magic, cool.
yeah.
Usually when I play like a video game or some sort of RPG or something like that, I usually will gravitate towards the spellcaster. Skyrim, I obviously went full destruction mage, stuff like that.
Mhm.
Even though the stealth archer is arguably better, it was just so much more fun to throw magic around.
Yeah.
Um,
That's funny because in Morrowind I was always just bow and arrow.
oh yeah, dude, Morrowind, I was just a stealth person.
Yep.
Just the whole time.
Little thief.
Yeah. That was because Morrowind was hard.
Oh, it's so fun though.
Morrowind was hard, dude. Anyways, but yeah, so I started reading The Wizard and it all just went right over my head. Like I didn't understand the spell slots, I didn't understand the prepping spells, I didn't understand the components or adding it to your spell book, any of that.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll talk about spell slots.
Yeah.
So there's a very funny YouTuber named Joe Cat who does a crap guide to D&D. And this is one of the things that pops into my head every time I think about spell slots. He calls them mage bullets.
Mhm.
Which is not a great metaphor for it, but it's just a synapse in my brain.
Yeah.
So one of the best ways I heard it described to me is your spell slots are like different sized containers.
Mhm.
So a first level spell slot is like a small little bottle. Second level spell slot is a slightly bigger jar. And then, you get all the way up to 9th level spells and you're, carrying around a bathtub with you, basically. And your spells that you cast can only fit in the proper size jars, right?
Right.
So a first level spell slot can't be cast using cantrips. Cantrips are free spells.
Yeah.
Essentially.
They're the little what are they called? Little beakers. Little the little science
Oh yeah. And
little tubes.
And they're never ending. You can cast cantrips all day.
Right.
So you can take the amount of liquid from that first level spell slot and dump it into the bigger container of a second level spell slot, right?
Yeah.
Because it's the same amount of liquid. Now, most of the spells, if you upcast them, that's what that would be called, is casting a first level spell through a second level slot. I heard it described as they will grow to fit the container they're in.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't take the amount of liquid that would fit in a second or third level spell slot and crush it down into a first level. It doesn't fit. It doesn't work.
It's like that creature from Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what you told me the first time I explained this to you, and you were like, "Oh, so it's like that thing," and I was like, "Yeah, hang on, give me a second." Right, that one, yes.
Where it'll grow to meet its environment.
Mm-hmm, exactly. So if you dump the liquid from a first level spell slot or a first level spell into a third level spell slot, it will expand and usually have a better effect. Be that,
greater damage,
more damage or longer duration or being able to affect more people, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, you can't take a fireball, which is third level, and smash it into a first level spell slot and go, I'm going to use a first level to cast fireball. No, you can't do that. It doesn't work. It requires a certain amount of magic, a certain amount of space, and you can't channel it through something smaller.
Yeah. And I guess the video game analogy is kind of works too, because like if you look at a video game and that gives you like that meter of how much magic you have,
mana cost.
Yeah. So like every time you use a spell slot, it lowers, and you only have a certain amount of spell slots per day.
Yep.
And this is kind of going along the first part of what you were saying and, building on it. But like, but like once that mana is depleted, you can still cast those cantrips, but like it takes like, you know,
Yeah.
0.001% of your
Well,
you know,
generally,
like
video games will have like a small bar of mana
right.
that will self regenerate,
Yeah.
and you can look at it as that little bit that is able to regenerate is what you're using to cast your cantrip.
Yeah.
Whereas, cantrip is like 1 to 10 mana, something like that.
Yeah.
You've got your bigger stuff like ninth level Blade of Disaster that maybe that takes 580,
Right.
something
Yeah.
crazy like that. So, yeah, so hopefully simplified spell slots for anybody out there who, yeah, what's up?
I was gonna say real quick, we went over wizards. I feel like we should go back down to warlock real quick because warlock is, I feel like, the most difficult to figure out.
Oh man, I feel like they're the easiest one.
Well, it's easy. It's easy to figure out like how to do it, but it's hard to keep track of. I feel like, because at least for me, because you only get 2 spell slots
to way higher levels.
Yeah, like, but even at the highest level, you only get what, 5?
Four.
Or 4? Yeah,
4.
yeah. So like
you get 4 fifth level spell slots if you're a maximum level,
and they're always
warlock.
upcast. So you
Yeah.
can't do more than 4 spells a day other than your cantrips.
Oh, you can do plenty more than those 4
Well,
spells.
if like obviously you have your like ones that you can cast once per day or things like that,
or your mystic arcanums, and then they have invocations that allow you to like, hey, you can cast this spell without using a spell slot and without any material components or anything like
Right.
that. So you basically get some spells that you can cast as though they were cantrips.
Yeah. Which is helpful.
Yeah, warlocks are definitely a weird. They're an anomaly among the spellcasters. Yeah. They
that's why I like the warlock sorcerer multi-class, because then you get your meta magic, you get your sorcery points, you get all these things that you can put together to gain your spell slots back. You get more spell slots because of being a different kind of magic user.
Warlocks pair very well with a lot of different classes.
Yeah.
Even paladin, and of course the main one everybody goes to when you think of the warlock paladin multi-class is the hexblade, because I mean, for crying out loud, it's so strong.
Yeah.
But you'll get higher level spell slots quicker that you can use those warlock spells. They're tracked differently. You can use those warlock spell slots for divine smites.
Mm-hmm.
And since they're higher level slots, they'll do more damage. And then you can get them back on a short rest.
Yeah.
Whereas paladins, it's like, oh, you have 2 spell slots. They're both first level. And you can do, a little bit of extra damage with them.
Right.
And then it's like, those are done for the day. And it's like, well, now you can use those like 3rd level warlock spell slots to hit them with a divine smite, and then go back to your paladin ones and cast stuff like Bless or Bane, or, something that's not really going to have much difference if you upcast it.
Yeah. Well, thanks for, mentioning a couple of my favorite spells.
Hey man, those are great. I mean, let's just name them all right now. But yeah, so the thing with pack magic, and there's a whole, I mean, we could do a whole video on the different like multi-classing with spellcasters, because it changes your spell progression.
Yeah.
You'll still get more spells or more spell slots, but you won't get those higher level ones.
Right. Yeah.
Until later. They'll be delayed because you've multi-classed.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's
which is such a hard thing to multi-class when you want those things.
But packed magic tracks completely differently. So if you're like gonna go 5 levels sorcerer, 5 levels warlock, you take that first dip into warlock, your sorcerer spells stay the same. They will not change. And then every level of warlock you take, it'll track as though you're just that level warlock.
Right.
Because packed magic is so different from all the other spellcasting types that it's just like, is it really going to change things so drastically if we give them one more spell slot that that gets back on a short rest?
Yeah.
Turns out if you're really reading into the rules and you start making something like the coffee lock,
Oh,
and you just
I remember you telling me
you
about
just
that one.
end up with endless spell slots because your DM is allowing rules as written exactly how they're written in the book, and well, now you have 800 spell slots, and then you go into a combat and you're just a nuclear reactor.
Yep. Yeah. We're Ariel and I are rewatching the Mighty Nine series for Critical Role, and the warlock that they have in it, his name is Ford. He just multi-classed into Paladin, and I was like, first time I watched it, I was like, okay, I don't get this, because like I was so new to D&D at that point that I was just like, okay, whatever. How does this work? And then now I'm going back and watching it. And I'm like, ooh, check out what he's gonna do. He's gonna multi-class into Paladin, and he's gonna get his pack blade still, and like all this other stuff. I'm just like, yes.
The Hexblade Paladin multi-class is so insane.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, I was midway making one in our Curse of Strahd campaign. I had my 5 levels of Hexblade, and then I was gonna do 6 levels Paladin. And then we stopped playing that one at 5th level, and I was like, no! I was so close! Yeah.
Nice. All right. Well, how about we get into the next section of our podcast today? And I'm gonna put a little caveat here because Blake, you are much more versed in the spells, and you know a lot more of them and the combinations that you can make with them. I'm gonna go a little bit more little flavor wise with mine. So we're gonna be talking about some of our favorite spells that we've either cast in our campaigns before, or for me, definitely ones that I've seen cast through other people or in like the Mighty Nine or whatever. And the way that they flavor them is just, it's so much fun. Yeah. But like I said, like, you know a lot more about like how to combine these spells to make the most impact out of them.
Ridiculous effect.
Like
the spell combo called the Microwave Oven, where you cast Force Cage on somebody, and then you throw Sickening Radiance in there.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
have fun deep frying.
Whereas I'm still having a problem with realizing that Shocking Grasp doesn't affect water.
Yeah.
I was like, man, like when we did our combat episode, I was just like, this should do something to water, but no, it doesn't.
Sorry, but
dude, I went back like a few days later and I was like, all right, let me look this up.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm pretty sure I've seen it done before, and no, it was right. You were right.
I am that way occasionally. Okay, so before we jump into our favorite spells, Dan.
Yes.
What is the most confusingly named cantrip, and why is it Chill Touch?
Because it's not a touch spell.
And it doesn't
and it's
do
not cold damage.
Exactly. So I, for one, submit to the internet, and I believe I don't know if this popped up at one of our tables one time or if somebody read it somewhere, but I submit to the internet that we should all unanimously decide to rename Chill Touch Lich Slap.
All right, let's put the petition together, all 3 of you.
All 3 of our listeners will send it to Wizards of the Coast, and they will promptly ignore it.
What? We got 3 signatures. Come on. we should be able to get this done.
I mean, come on. Lich Slap is such a better name for it.
It really is.
Because what does the spell do? A skeletal hand reaches out and strikes and clings onto an opponent, right? Yep. And then it deals... Is it chill damage?
No.
Cold damage? No. It deals necrotic damage. So where they got Chill Touch from, I have no idea.
No, I don't know.
But it's a skeletal hand that grabs onto them and deals necrotic damage. Lich Slap.
Yeah, I feel like there's several of them that I was looking at, and I was like, that doesn't make any sense either. Like, why is it called that? And I can't remember what they are now, but like,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. So do you want to kick us off with do we want to just go level by level and
Yeah, we can do that. We'll start with our lovely cantrips here.
that's hard cuz there's so many cantrips that I love. Like it's tough to choose.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not gonna go through all of mine because I have a lot of my spells listed out here, but I'm gonna try and pick and choose the best ones.
We can do some
But
honorable mentions at the
yeah,
end.
yeah. This is our Mount Rushmore of spells.
Except there's
2 geeks, 1 noob.
except there's 10 of them
Well, yeah.
cuz there's spells go up to 9th level and then there's cantrips which are technically level 0.
Right, yeah.
There's actually fun lore reasons as to why they stop at 9.
Oh, really?
Mhm.
You know what? I think I
Look up,
might have heard something
Look
about
up
that.
the Netherese Empire.
Okay. All right. You got to explain a little bit of it now.
Oh, dude, it's a long story. That's a whole episode in itself.
Okay. All right. So look at the Netherese.
The Netherese Empire, and I don't remember what the 10th level spell was called, but
There is a 10th level spell.
there used to be 10th level spells
Dude.
until the Netherese Empire, screwed it up for everyone.
Ooh.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
I may allow these in my campaign.
I have a whole list of epic spells that I've found online that are just
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that my first one here, it has to go to everyone's favorite warlock spell, Eldritch Blast.
Thank you, Joe Cat, for the
Blast. I mean, it's such a great spell though. Like it what's the word? Elevates as you get higher up in levels. Not only can you do you start off with 1 blast, but then it keeps going and you
Mhm.
get 2 and then 3
and
and then I think you can
it
get
goes
4.
up to 4. Yeah.
Which you can cast on different people.
Yep. Choose different targets.
Yeah. So and then I like to flavor mine.
It's farting in your hand and smacking somebody in the face with it.
Yep. So Joey from this campaign that we did on our last episode,
Mhm.
then I had Remy who used his deck of cards and did Eldritch Blast through his
gambit.
cards. Yeah, I mean,
I saw one where the guy was playing as a hexblade, and so the sword was like its own character. It was like sentient and would like speak to him and stuff, and
Mhm.
it always spoke this weird language that only he could understand. And whenever Eldritch Blast would cast, like it had like a mouth and an eye on the hilt of the blade,
Mhm.
and so whenever Eldritch Blast would cast, it was literally like spitting them out at the target.
Oh, that's cool.
So it was really fun. Like it was pretty cool.
Yeah. Nice. And that's the thing I love about D&D is being able to personalize your spells and
Mhm.
personalize a lot of different things, but like especially spell casting, like anything you can think of that you want to make it look like,
Mm-hmm.
just make it look like that.
Yeah, I mean, there's even a section in the book Tasha's Cauldron of Everything where it's talking about spell customization and flavoring them to look however you want, and there's like a little in all of the books they're written, quote unquote, written by different D&D characters,
Mhm.
and Tasha has like a little blurb in there where she talks about like, so she was raised by Baba Yaga,
Okay.
and she would give her I think it was magic missile. She gave them chicken feet. So when she would shoot it up, because Baba Yaga's house walks around on chicken feet.
Oh, yeah.
And so she
Okay.
started giving her magic missiles chicken feet because it made Baba Yaga laugh. It was like, even though like I'm no longer with her, I still think of it every time, and it's still part of my magic now.
Yeah, nice.
And so it's like, it literally, the book tells you like, flavor it how you want, make it look how you want. It's not changing the effect of the spell,
right.
but it's fun.
Yeah.
Like, make it your own.
See, for that one, I I would have even gone a step further, and with the chicken legs, it would run across the floor and then jump up and hit the target.
That'd be fun. Yeah. Yeah. I'm gonna say something that might upset you a little bit, Dan.
No,
I-
no, no.
I actually have a problem with Eldritch Blast
Really?
because it's so good that if you're playing a warlock, you have no incentive to take any other damage cantrip.
I can agree with that, except I have tried to do that before.
But it's not as good.
It
Because
depends on what it is.
well, but the problem is if you're taking a damage cantrip as a warlock, none of the other ones are customizable. Eldritch Blast gives you stuff like Agonizing Blast, which lets you add more damage to it. It gives you
Right.
Lancing. It gives you the one that like doubles its distance. It gives you one that pulls and pushes and slows and all these different things.
Yeah.
So I submit another submission. Let's petition Wizards of the Coast with this one. That when you take, so instead of it being Agonizing Blast, it's Agonizing Cantrip.
Yeah.
And so what you do is you pick a damage cantrip that is going to be your warlock's specific cantrip, and then you can add those pushing, pulling things
Yeah.
like that onto it. Because what if you're playing a warlock and for some reason you just you want to make him acid themed, and so you want to take the cantrip Acid Splash?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, granted, you could always talk to your DM and see if, like, hey, can I just reflavor the damage of Eldritch Blast into acid? Which, yes, it would weaken the spell because force damage is better than acid damage.
Yeah.
Sure. But can I just change damage types? I would allow that at my table. But I would also say, what if you and I got together and instead of having Agonizing Blast and Lancing Blast and pulling, grasping, all that, let's homebrew some invocations specifically for that.
Yeah.
Because I had a player at one of my tables one time that didn't want to take Eldritch Blast because it was so overused by warlocks, and he took Lightning Lure.
Okay.
Okay, well, I wasn't experienced enough at the time, but I really wish, looking back on it now, I had said, hey, do you want to be able to customize this? Let's make some invocations for it. And then make them specific to that cantrip. Now, the thing I would say is, if you do that, you get to pick one cantrip to customize. And then say you pick up Eldritch Blast later, well, you've already customized Lightning Lure.
Yeah.
That takes
so you
up.
can't.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No, I can get on board with that, definitely. Because it creates an opportunity to flavor your character around this particular power. And that's what I like about that too, is that it's like for me, my characters always have, or at least I try to have, one specific thing that characterizes that person. And like with Remy, changing his Eldritch Blast to being
Little card explosions.
the card explosions, it was a slightly different flavor to Eldritch Blast, but it was an explosion.
Yeah, and I think one thing that would have been cool with that, since you were flavoring it like a little explosion, is say, okay, well, instead of Agonizing Blast, what we'll do is we will have it to where you can throw that, and then any creature within 5 feet takes your charisma modifier and damage.
Yeah.
Because Gambit's little card explosions are their
area effects.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he chucks it, and not just the one person gets hit. Like, granted, that person gets hit the hardest.
Right.
But let's flavor it as, instead of adding the charisma modifier onto the damage on that one person, anybody within 5 feet takes charisma modifier damage.
Yeah. I like it. Also, one of the things I was thinking of when
We're spending a lot of time on Eldritch Blast because it's such a good cantrip.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Anyway, sorry. I want to get to this one little thing.
No, go for it.
You were talking about something being acid damage. One of the things I was thinking of is, like, say you take the Lancing Blast. it can still technically be a lancing blast if I'm remembering what that is. Um, but you could easily flavor it or whatever to like you're taking acid and forming a lance out of it. It kind of almost hardens, but it's still acid damage. And then you throw that, and it's like a spear almost.
Yeah, that could be cool.
You know, like
and then you just figure out what you're going to do with that flavor, turning it into a mechanical thing.
right. And when it hits, it's like it doesn't pierce. It just like it hits and it turns into acid.
Yeah,
Or like not turns into acid, but like it splashes like acid
on them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like there's a lot of different things you can do with that, where like you said, with those different invocations that are
you design
easy flavor.
Yeah, well, and then you design the mechanic of it around the flavor that your player is going with.
Exactly. And say it is acid and it splashes. Again, you could also do another thing where it splashes on an area.
Damage. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's and you can technically do this with any kind of spell your players are doing, but it's the fact that warlocks specifically get a class ability to customize this one cantrip.
Mm-hmm.
And that it's great. Don't get me wrong. Every time I've played a warlock, I grab Eldritch Blast and it's phenomenal.
Yeah.
But it would be cool if they added the incentive to customize those other cantrips as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'll move to one of my favorite cantrips. I was torn between two, and you grabbed Eldritch Blast, so I'll do one of my other favorites, Prestidigitation.
Hey, everybody loves Prestidigitation.
It's the one spell that like so Heather and I will like have conversations and stuff about D&D because we're nerds, and so like we talk about it a lot at home too. And she asked a question one time. She was like, if you could cast one D&D spell in real life, what would it be? And I was like, Prestidigitation. Dude, like 100% that one.
Yeah.
And
being able to clean something like that.
She was like, why? And I was like, dude, diaper changes, man. Dishes, my least favorite chore on the planet. Just...
Yep, sweeping is mine.
Because my sink is less than a 5-foot cube, and you can clean a 5x5 cube in one go.
Yeah.
So just dishes, stack them all together, and then just clean dishes. Oh no, the baby pooped. Not anymore. It's gone. Like
I like it. I like it a lot.
I done cleaned it. It's gone. And then plus now, granted, there's a whole lot of other things you can do with it. But in the day-to-day, just normal stuff, my two that I would pick, Prestidigitation, because I'm lazy, or Mage Hand, because I'm lazy.
I was going to say another thing you can do with Prestidigitation is like light candles and stuff like that. Having a fun night in with your wife.
Yep.
Sexy time.
Let me set the mood. And then I don't remember if it's Prestidigitation or Thaumaturgy where you can make like slight music. Like
that's a good
play
question.
in the area.
I think it's Thaumaturgy.
I think it's Thaumaturgy because with my warlock character, I had to use a combination of Prestidigitation and Thaumaturgy to do certain effects.
Yeah.
But it's such a fun spell. Like you can make sparks, you can light or douse flames, you can.
I mean, it's a magician's like
I mean, you
bread and butter.
You can literally conjure small physical objects.
Yeah.
That like are real, like that you can touch them and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's just once you drop them, they disappear.
Yeah, but it's I mean, you can do a lot of like you can make money by just prestidigitating.
Yeah. Well, and it's really up to the creativity of the player and what kind of shenaniganery the DM will let you get away with.
Yeah.
Because it's like, okay, I'm locked in a jail cell.
Mm-hmm.
I saw what the guard's keyring looked like.
Mm.
The key is technically an object that I can fit in my hand. So may I reach my hand through the bars, prestidigitate that key.
The only thing I would say about that is that you would have to know what that particular key actually looks like.
Well, now here's the thing. Generally speaking, medieval style keys were not terribly complex.
Right.
So,
but you still had like the teeth and such that were
well, exactly. But like,
but there weren't that many
if
versions
you're sitting
of
there,
it.
if you're sitting there and the jailer is talking to you for a while and you're just staring at his key belt, it wouldn't be that weird for you to be looking at his key belt.
That's
because in his brain, you're looking at your freedom.
Mm-hmm.
And in your brain, you're just memorizing exactly what that thing looks like. And then, okay, as long as I don't drop this, I've got it. And if I do drop it, I'll just make another one.
Right.
And just, okay, I've unlocked my cell. I'm getting out of here.
Yeah.
Now, again,
that makes a lot of sense.
That's really up to the shenaniganery your DM lets you get into.
Yeah.
I don't know how many DMs would actually let you get away with, I'm going to memorize his key.
If you have the keen mind. You have the keen mind feat,
I would
that
say
would work.
I would say that, or throw it down to like an intelligence roll.
Yeah.
You know, some sort of intelligence roll.
Easy enough
to see if you can actually get the ridges and the teeth properly.
Yep. Yeah.
But it's such a fun spell, and like you can make smells with it. You can make all kinds of stuff. There was a wonderful I'm getting there.
You're getting there.
There was a wonderful instance with our Curse of Strahd characters where Dan's character Logan was a rogue that could not rogue to save his life.
Terrible rogue. Oh my gosh.
Every time he was asked for a stealth roll, he would roll like a 2.
Yep.
Every time he was...
To my shame.
Yeah, to his great shame.
I mean, we were only... No, that was 5th level. Never mind.
Yeah, it was bad. It was really bad. And we were trying to sneak into that. We were playing a one-shot with our Curse of Strahd characters. So not in Barovia. And we were trying to sneak into this manor. And, I mean, so we had a druid, a barbarian. I was a warlock. And Matt was a barbarian. Heather was a sorcerer. Ariel was a druid, and you were the rogue, and I was a warlock.
Yeah.
Pretty
well-rounded.
Yeah. I was wearing medium armor, so I had disadvantage on my stealth roll. Matt's a barbarian. He kind of dumped his dex, so his stealth was trash.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody aced their stealth roll, except for the rogue. And so he was just walking around and gets spotted by the guards. And I think you were an arcane trickster and you had disguise self. And you made yourself look like an off-duty guard that you had seen in the tavern getting very drunk.
Yep.
And so you just were like, oh crap, disguise self. And then the guards start walking up and they're like, what are you doing here, man? You're off duty. You have no business being on the grounds. And before they got close enough, my warlock was sitting in a bush right next to him. And I was like, I'm going to help him with his deception check because this is ridiculous. So I made a scent to make his breath reek like alcohol because you can have multiple different effects of the spell going at once.
I think you can have three different ones. Yeah.
And so I made your breath reek of alcohol and then I peed his pants. Because it says you can clean or soil an object.
Yep.
It does not specify what you can soil it with because it's an illusory spell.
Yeah.
So I was like, I pee his pants. You what? I pee his pants. And my sister was the DM and she was like, I don't think you're just gonna like whip it out and pee on him. I'm like, no, I cast prestidigitation and I pee his pants. And she's like, you're gonna have to explain that one to me. So I read the spell and I was like, you can clean or soil an object. She was like, well, does soil, wouldn't that just mean dirt? And I was like, it does not specify.
Yeah. It just means dirty.
And I've already made his breath reek of alcohol. If you need my third one, like if I'm just making it look wet and then my third one is making it smell of pee.
Yep.
Then let's do it, baby. Like I pee his pants. I pee his pants. And because of that, he got advantage on all of his like deception checks and stuff like that. And he started like stumbling around like he was really drunk. And like they didn't arrest him. They didn't throw him off the property. They brought him into the barracks.
The
like
guardhouse.
The little guardhouse. Yeah. And like put him to bed on a cot. And we're like, we'll take care of you in the morning. But like, dude, you've got to stop getting so wasted. And they left him in there and he was like, oh crap, this is great. Prestidigitation, my guys. It's such a good spell. When everything else fails, there are so many fun, just creative ways that you can use these simple cantrips to both great and stupid, ridiculous effects.
It's awesome. I love it.
I'm just gonna say it might have been dumb, but it was a great strategy in the moment to just like because she was like, you guys have like one chance to do something to try to help him, and everybody was scrambling, and I'm like, happy his pants.
And it was such a great moment too. Like, I know we've talked about this before on this podcast of like natural ones and low rolls can make for great role play.
They make for the best moments.
They may suck in the moment.
Yeah.
That like you just feel horrible for, rolling terribly, but at the same time,
you want your awesome character to be awesome.
Right.
And then they do something dumb and you're like, crap. And then later you're just like, no, dude, that's the most memorable part.
It was the best. Because it creates not only like story moments for yourself, but also relationship moments for everybody. It's like, okay, you helped me out by peeing my pants.
Oh, and I'm sure if that campaign had continued much longer, there would have been some like, like, okay, I appreciate you helping me, but never urinate my pants for me again.
Because it would have happened again.
I mean, it could have come from the other side. It was front or back. You choose.
All right, Sorrow, stop it.
I do miss that character.
Yeah.
He was fun to play as.
The thing I hated about Logan, besides his low rolling, was that I had this idea in my head for what he sounded like, and that I could never get the accent right.
You kept doing my accent, and then I kept shifting into yours.
No, that one I had more of like a New York accent.
Oh, right, and
I was trying to talk like a little bit of a
sort of a newsy.
Kind of a little bit, because he had that kind of look to him,
Yeah, and it kept your accent kept either going Irish, or mine,
right? I'm definitely a mimic, but not that kind.
But then when you would go Irish, I would start saying something, and I would slip into Irish and go, "Oh crap, Dan, stop! You're messing me up."
It's the problem with having two people that are really good at accents.
Is because one of us will slip into a different accent and the other one just follows suit.
Yep. That's why we need to have like characters that have the same accent.
Well, yeah, Morthos and Kurt were brothers, so
yeah, but you went more like bestial, like
because he got lost in the woods as a very, very young child,
and I was very German.
Very German.
He was Kurt. Kurt Wagner.
He was Kurt Wagner. But in the Munich circus,
they call me the Nightcrawler.
The incredible Nightcrawler. I feel like we could have made them both.
Yeah.
Like a light German.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on.
First level spells.
Oh, I have one more.
Did we want to do honorable mentions for cantrips for each category? We do our honorable mention?
Like one or two honorable mentions.
Go for it.
So I have two honorable mentions.
All right.
One is thaumaturgy. You gotta go thaumaturgy.
Thaumaturgy and prestidigitation are the same boat.
Like thaumaturgy. So I'll go a little bit into this one. Was the thing I like about thaumaturgy and the thing I hate about it is that some DMs don't allow going too far with cantrips.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like they say, oh, it's stretching the power of a cantrip.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I look at it like
the rules are left vague intentionally.
Yeah, exactly. So like a lot of times I'll see it used to like throw your voice or create, a sound far away. A lot of times the DMs will be like, no, you can't really do that. Yeah. But it's like, why not?
Yeah.
Like you can make your voice boom. Why can't you make it boom from over there?
So I think the reason why that's generally a ruling is because minor illusion can make sounds from other places.
Right.
And then with thaumaturgy, it talks about making quiet sounds in other places. So like I think the problem with spells like that is so they give you examples of some of the things it can do,
Right. Yeah.
and people will read that and see that that's the only things you can do instead of here's some examples, use these as guidelines of similar things.
Yeah.
Instead they look at it and they go, okay, you can make the earth shake a little bit, you can make doors and windows open and close,
Hmm.
you can change the color of fire or your eyes, and then you can
That's
make
the one
like
I really like.
you can make like slight music, float over the wind or something like that, and they're like, that's it.
Yeah. So like the one you were just talking about, you create an instantaneous sound that originates from a point of your choice within range, such as a rumble of thunder, the cry of a raven, or ominous whispers.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then it says another one, your voice booms up to 3 times as loud as normal for 1 minute.
Mm-hmm.
And this is one that you can have 3 of its things at the same time. Although it says you can have up to 3 of its 1 minute effects active
Yeah.
at a time. So, okay. So that's where it kind of gets muddled is it has to be the 1 minute thing.
Yeah.
So like you having your voice boom for 3 times its normal for 1 minute, but you can't do the instantaneous sound that originates from a different point at the same time.
Yeah.
But it's the same spell.
Well, and that again is where you kind of get the crossover between minor illusion
Right.
and thaumaturgy, where it's like the minor illusion can create sounds in within range, and it can be anything from like a gentle whisper to a full blown scream,
Yeah.
like in its volume.
Yep.
And so it's like people go, well, if you wanted to do that, you should have taken minor illusion, and it's like, well,
But if thaumaturgy can basically do the same
similar
thing.
spells,
Yeah. Like I can understand scaling it down a little bit for a cantrip,
Mhm.
but at the same time it's like it's kind of meant to be something that you can do instantaneously anytime you want
Mhm.
as a magician.
Yeah.
As someone who can cast magic.
Yeah.
It kind of makes it silly where if you can't do that,
Yeah, that
what's
same
the point?
that same warlock character had that spell because he was a tiefling, and it's one of the racial
Right.
spells. And I actually used it. I didn't use it a whole lot in roleplay or to like accomplish things,
Mhm.
but I used it a lot because he was haunted by the spirit of his father,
Yeah.
who was like sticking around to protect him. And so when like doors and windows would like open and close and stuff, like he would be like reaching for a door handle. And the way I flavored it is like, oh yeah, I cast thaumaturgy, but what we flavored it as in game was dad opened the door for me.
Mhm.
And so like he's reaching for the door handle and his dad like steps up and opens the door because
Yeah.
he's still trying to take care of his son.
Mhm.
And then like I also had like unseen servant. And
Yeah.
so whenever I would cast that spell, it wasn't me conjuring a servant to go and do things and ordering it around. It was I need help with something, so dad's stepping in and doing something.
Mhm.
And so like we had a lot of fun role play with that. And then there was of course other, the other effects that the spells have, but that's what I normally used it for.
Mhm.
Was that was the spirit of his
Flavoring it,
father
yeah.
manifesting and affecting reality.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
so it was,
I really liked that. That was really fun.
I really missed that character. I really missed that character. Sorrow was so much fun.
Yeah.
And then there was one time that I actually got us out of a combat. It was early on before you and Ariel joined.
Mhm.
We were getting absolutely wrecked. We got ambushed in the middle of the night by a dryad and a bunch of satyrs.
Mhm.
And like we were entangled and just getting just the crap beat out of us. And Sorrow had a really good intimidation modifier.
Mhm.
And I used thaumaturgy to make the ground shake, make his voice boom, and his eyes like became fire and like flared up.
Nice.
And I just like yelled like, I said stop. And like the ground shook and everything boomed and was loud. And I got advantage on the intimidation roll with that crazy high modifier that I had.
Mhm.
And combat ended because everybody kind of was like, oh crap.
Yeah.
Do we keep fighting or like, and then we were able to de-escalate and like, okay, you're attacking us and blaming us for something that we have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah.
what's happening?
Dang. That's cool.
Because we were like 3 health apiece from having a TPK. Like we were all right on the brink of just complete annihilation. And I cast all that, and Rachel was like, so how would that affect, because she was a fairly new DM.
Mm-hmm.
She was like, how would that affect things mechanically? And I was like, well, that's really up to you. Like, you can, roll something for them. You can have me roll something. You can, she was like, well, what are you trying to accomplish? I said, I'm trying to intimidate them and make them stop.
Yeah.
And she said, what would you do in this situation? I said, okay, well, there's a couple different things. You can either have them roll a wisdom save versus my spell save DC. You can give my intimidation roll what I like to call light advantage.
Mm-hmm.
So you just give a +2 to the roll.
Okay.
Or you can just do regular advantage where you roll twice and take the higher. And she goes, I think we'll just go with regular advantage. And I was like, okay, cool. And I ended up rolling stupid high. And she was like, yeah, that does it. And so it worked out. But again, it was just a fun, creative use of an otherwise innocuous spell that's not really meant for combat scenarios.
Yeah. But it can still be effective in that way though, which is really cool. I like that.
Yeah. I saw it get used one time. They were being it was in the Unexpectables. And there were bullets in the cave they were in.
Ooh, yeah.
So they were like burrowing around, and they have tremor sense, so they were like waiting for them to move. Oh. And so their bard cast thaumaturgy like over like in a far corner and had the earth like tremble and shake a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And so all of them just like went like straight to that area. It was like tremors.
That's
just
awesome.
Went straight for that area, and they just booked it.
Yeah. That's all right. That's something I'm going to have to keep in mind. Because that's a really good way to use it.
Well, luckily in your campaign, you only have one spellcaster.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody else is martial.
Yeah.
And I have a few spells, but I don't have any of those.
So I can use it.
The DM is absolutely allowed to abuse whatever spells they want. Only thing is, you start doing stuff like that, and your wife is going to go, I'm taking that spell.
Well, I've already got some revenge to take out on her because she
keeps shutting down your combat encounters.
I gotta make some high wisdom characters to combat you guys because she keeps making me roll wisdom saves for whole person.
It's okay. She'll just end up taking enlarge reduce and just make 2 of our characters really big and scary.
Oh no!
Just imagine, just one of. Imagine her casting that on Atreya.
Oh boy!
Now she's even bigger and hits even harder.
Or make you smaller and make you even more stealthy.
Hadn't even considered that.
Little kobold 3 inches tall.
Throw pass without trace on top of it. I have mage hand. I would like to point out, if I am reduced, I can pick myself up with mage hand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because even by kobold standards, Worm is a runt.
Yeah. He's small for him.
Oh,
for
yeah.
A kobold.
Yeah, he's tiny. He's little.
Oh, okay. How tall is he?
He's under 3 feet.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, he's little.
That could make things interesting then.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's why
I thought he was a little over 3. So
yeah, that's why he fights the way he fights. It's all like, I'm gonna stab you from way over there, or I'm gonna sneak up on you.
Mm-hmm.
This is not going to be a fair fight.
Yeah.
I refuse to be in a fair fight.
You're basically Reaper cheap.
Yeah, he's Reaper cheap.
Nice.
I wish I was that epic.
So cool.
If I could get on Reaper Cheap's level for Worm, like, ugh.
Dude, you already are.
No, not there yet.
You threw my bad guy off an airship.
That was a fluke, and we all know it.
A large construct.
That was a fluke, and we all know it.
That can turn into a huge construct.
It was my swarm. Worm did not throw him off. His swarm did.
And my stupid rolls.
His exploding mushrooms.
All right, we gotta get through this.
All right, so you had 2 honorable mentions. There's Thaumaturgy.
Thaumaturgy and Vicious Mockery.
Vicious Mockery.
Vicious Mockery is always fun. I love the way that Sam Riegel does it, where he literally has like insults and jokes like prepared for an encounter, and then he'll be like, yeah, you're gonna take this much damage.
Yeah.
It's like, oh,
well, it's the same
psychic damage.
It's the same with the Unexpectables. Connor McKinley did that for Panic Grimtongue.
Yeah.
And gosh, some of them were just outright brutal. Like sometimes he would say something and the whole party would just stop for a minute and be like, damn, dude, are you okay? Like, like I think one time I don't know if he dealt the final blow, but it was one of the last ones, and he ended up doing max damage on a Vicious Mockery against a dragon.
Mm-hmm.
And his insult was, hey buddy, how do you kill yourself using a dragon? Climb to its ego and jump to its IQ. And I was like, oh, that was dirty.
That's awesome. That's so good.
And it dealt max damage, which, it's not much, but it was hilarious.
And it's so funny when it is the final blow, because it's just like, oh, I'm just so hurt that even an insult can kill me.
Bullied him to death.
You have like 5 health left, and he insulted me.
Yeah. Yeah, he hurt my feelings. Well, there was another campaign where the bard was just like this super nice guy. And the way they flavored it is because he was such a nice guy that any kind of like insult or disappointment or anything, like at one point he told one of the characters, I'm not mad, I'm disappointed. And they rolled Vicious Mockery damage for it.
Oh no.
He was like, I wasn't trying to cast the spell. They're like, I'm taking the damage anyways. Because they flavored it as he's so nice and so pure hearted and so good that
so charismatic.
Well, that any kind of like insult or disappointment or anything just caused people mental anguish.
Oh my
and
gosh.
so like half the time his insults were like somebody had missed an attack and he's like, you're so dumb, you couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. And so like half the time he was just calling people a dummy. And they're like, oh, he doesn't like me. He seems like a really nice guy and he doesn't like me.
See, these are the kinds of things that we need to have in our campaigns of just like
we do
ridiculous stuff like this. All right, I need to have then, because I can never come up with stuff like that.
I thought a campaign was that drink you get in a fancy glass.
No, that's champagne.
I didn't have another one.
Yeah.
After that. All right, so my honorable mentions, we'll get through them real quick. I'm actually going third-party content creator for this one.
Okay.
It's a spell from Kobold Press's Deep Magic called Memento Mori.
Yeah. Okay.
And you have seen this in action several times in different campaigns from different characters. And every time I've cast it, there has been it's been a dire situation where everybody's like, oh crap, like we went into a house, the mortuary,
right
and in
Barovia, right?
Yeah, it wasn't the town of Barovia, it was Krezek.
Oh yeah, because it was the one where like we were trying to find the little boy that was being possessed or something.
I think this was before we went there, but we went to that crypt or the coffin builder, and y'all just like went up there and climbed in the windows.
Yep.
And
no, because it was after that, because the kid was. Oh no! You're right. It was before. Never mind.
Yeah. Y'all climbed in the windows and just a whole bunch of vampire spawn attacked.
Yeah.
And we were getting wrecked, and I got in there and got all of their attention on me. So what Memento Mori does, since it's not an official spell, basically any creatures that are looking at you or that can see you have to roll. It might be charisma. Might be a charisma saving throw. Or else they become stunned for 1 round until the end of your next turn, because you take on this horrifying visage of death with, like, you know, rotting flesh and crawling maggots and all kinds of stuff, and it scares them.
Yeah.
So this was that same character that was really good with, you know, intimidation and stuff like that. And just, I don't remember what I did to give him this, but he had a double proficiency in intimidation. I'm not sure how I did that.
Yeah.
I'll have to look at his character sheet again. I don't remember.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
But and just got them all to look at him and cast that spell, and then was like, everyone run. And everybody just started,
and
like,
we ran,
jumping out of windows, and he stayed there long enough to continue casting that spell each round to keep them stunned until everybody got out of there, and he was like, deuces. And then, like, dove out the window himself.
It also helped that Ariel's character cast Moonbeam.
Yeah, and just had
and,
that,
like,
circle
kept them
of
in,
vampiric death.
And it kept them in, like, in the room, so that they had to keep looking at you, which was cool.
Yeah. So that's one of them, and then another one that is just it's just a good spell, mending. Yeah. Like, there's not a whole lot to say about it. You can fix something that's broken.
Yeah.
It's just nice.
It's one of those ones that, like, it's useful for a lot of things, but it's one that's underused, I think.
Yeah.
Like, it's not one that you think of that's like, oh yeah, this is such a powerful spell, I gotta take it.
Yeah.
It's more like, okay, am I gonna come up
if
against
you have
something?
an extra cantrip, you're like, I might grab mending.
Right.
But every time I've taken it, I've never regretted having it. Because, like, I mean, your D&D party goes around breaking
stuff.
everything. And if you go into a bar and you smash the bar up, well, you don't get to go back to that bar.
Yeah.
However, if you smash the bar up and then go, hey, I'm really sorry about that, let me start fixing some of this, and then fixing it, and then you just start magicking everything back together, yeah, it's going to take some time, but...
You're like Mary Poppins, just like, ooh, just a spoonful of sugar.
Exactly. Like, you sit there and you take a few hours and you mend everything that y'all broke, and then not only do you have good rapport with the innkeeper or bartender or whatever, but now other people know, like, hey, he can fix some stuff. And it's like, hey, my heirloom urn has broken. Can you help me out with that? And it's like, you got any money? Now you have, you have a cleaning and repair business because you have prestidigitation and mending.
Say, in that scenario, I don't know if you want both of those, though. Family urn with the ashes of your father in it.
Well, don't get rid of the ashes. Just mend the urn and scoop the ashes back in by hand, And then whatever residue's left on the counter, that's what you prestidigitate away.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I just want, like, a low intelligence person to have these cantrips, though, and have that situation. It's like, oh, let me take care of that for you. Mend the urn, prestidigitate the ashes.
Exactly. Dad, we were gonna cast True Resurrection. Which begs the question, if you could cast True Resurrection, why did you need me to cast Mending?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's really nice because Heather's character, her barbarian, has a fear of mimics, and she carries a hammer around everywhere and hits everything before she won't let us sit down, she won't let us touch doors without smashing it with a hammer first. And then you let her use, like, it's enchanted with mending on the other side.
Yeah, it's an enchanted
so it's like,
hammer.
Fix-It Felix's hammer on the back end of it.
Basically.
Where it's like, smash!
Ding, ding. I can fix it!
Yeah. So yeah, those are my honorable mentions, is mending and Memento Mori.
Those are good ones. I like it.
Yeah. I love cantrips. The damage ones are all good and well, but, like, it's really most of the time just like, what flavor of damage do you want to do?
Yeah.
But those roleplay cantrips, they're just so much fun.
They are. They definitely are. And we need to do more of them. They're so much fun.
Worm doesn't have any cantrips except for Mage Hand.
Yeah, but we have other campaigns that we play in.
I don't.
You play in Joel's. You play in...
He's a blood hunter. No spells.
Yeah, that's true.
I have them with Isaiah, but he's a one-shot character.
Yeah.
And I have them with Dax. But he's no longer a full campaign character anymore, sadly.
So it sounds like we're gonna be doing a couple of episodes on spells because there's just too many to name,
And they're all so good.
they're all so good. So we're actually gonna split this up a little bit. We'll have a couple of parts to this, and we'll go levels 1 and 2 today.
Yeah.
So for mine, my first one for level 1 is Bane. You gotta get Bane. It gives
Nobody cared who I was before I put on the mask.
I was born at level 0.
I was wondering what would be the first to break. Your spirit or your body? You can't do that without doing a Bane.
Of course not. But also it's a really good spell.
You know what spell I'm about to cast? Bane! This will be very painful for you. And now that we've driven away all 3 of our listeners,
This is why I have like 3 friends.
It's true, though.
It is. Well, yeah. Okay.
For those of you who know us well and are counting, you all get to decide. Be like, wait, they hang out with like 5 or 6 of us. Which are the friends? Which is the 3?
Wives don't count.
Well, I said 3 friends, not best friends. My wife is my best friend.
Oh, okay.
Close second, man.
I liked what you said earlier. You put the B before the F.
You put the B before the F, bro.
Now let's put the Bane before the friends.
I see what you did there, because there's another spell called Friends.
Yeah, but it's not on my list.
You know that it's a game for nerds when there's a literal magic spell called Friends.
I cast Friends.
I get it, because you don't have any in real life, loser.
It's really a conjuration spell.
Jesus.
Conjure woodland friends.
Oh, no. But you can only conjure 3.
Until I get higher level.
No.
No?
All right. Bane, go for it.
Oh my gosh. Okay. All right. So Bane is a spell. All right. So real quick. I think you had Bless on yours as well, right?
No.
Oh, you didn't? Okay. So let me
I mean, it's a great spell, but it's
Okay.
in my honorable mentions.
Okay.
Put Bane and Bless in the same category.
Yeah, I was going to say, those two are very similar, where you can cast Bane on an enemy, and it gives them a d4 to attack rolls and saving throws.
Oh, you
But
could cast it on Friends, too.
Well, yeah. But you don't want to, necessarily,
Speak for yourself.
depending on what they're doing.
Speak for yourself. I would definitely take that as a real life spell if I could. Just to mess with people.
So, I don't even want to know what you do with it.
I'd literally just use it to mess with people.
Well,
Just make their life difficult for, what is the runtime for it, a minute?
yeah, I think so.
It's
Yep,
like-
up to a minute.
For the next minute, your life is going to be so difficult.
Wow.
Like that episode of Supernatural where Sam gets cursed with bad luck. just everything is happening wrong. Like he's trying to, like, he steps in gum and is trying to wipe it off, and his shoe falls down the sewer grate, and he's just standing there dejectedly. What's the matter, Sammy? I lost my shoe. Just one thing after, and he puts him in the hotel room, and it's like, just stay here, don't touch anything. and then the outlet lights on fire, and he's just like, no, come on.
Aw, that's terrible.
It's such a good episode. It's what I imagine Bane being like.
Yeah, pretty much. It's like, oh, come on.
Just the world hates you now.
But yeah, so with Bane and Bless, it's basically the exact opposite spell. You give your enemies Bane and your friends Bless, and it gives you a D4 negative or positive, whichever way you
Speak for
decide.
yourself.
We already went over this. Trying to get through the episode, man.
I think getting through second level spells might be too ambitious.
All right, so that's my first one. What's your first one?
Bane and Bless. Those are pretty good. I have a really hard time narrowing it down because first level spells are just, they're so juicy.
That's why I combined the two, because
Yeah. Well, I'll kind of do the same thing. They're both reactionary spells, but they both do fairly different things.
Okay.
Now, I know you're probably thinking I'm going to go with Hellish Rebuke.
Okay.
I'm not.
Okay.
That is definitely high up there. I love that spell.
That one's on my list.
However, I'm going to go with Shield.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And Silvery Barbs.
Oh, yeah.
Because
I saw those on the list, and for some reason I didn't put them on there. I don't know why.
Well, the problem is with Silvery Barbs, it's such a good spell that a lot of DMs have just said no. It's not allowed.
Why though?
Because there are players who will abuse it. Where it's like they use it to just be Chaos Monkey. Now, I don't agree with banning it by any means. And that's not even self-serving because I'm not currently playing any characters that have access to that spell. But there have been a lot of stories of players taking Silvery Barbs and then just using it for everything. Just every single thing. Using it the way I joked about Bane. Like, oh, hey, your buddy over there needs to make a dexterity check for whatever. And it's like, I'm going to cast Silvery Barbs. Why? Because.
Yeah.
And then they pull out the just tried and horribly true quote of, it's what my character would do.
Right,
it's like, well, your character's a douchebag. Like, sorry, I don't know if that's getting bleeped or not, but
I don't
like,
know, whatever.
Your character's a douchebag. Like, you're the one who made him. You didn't have to make him that way. You're now hindering the entire party and the progression of the story because you wanted your moment of hoo funny. Look at me, I'm so random.
Yeah. See, that's the frustrating thing about like the Chaos Monkey people is like you cause chaos for your enemies, not your friends.
Yeah, I would love to play a wild magic sorcerer that takes a bunch of the so there's a whole bunch of wild magic in deep magic that's it's all about making chaos. It's called chaos magic.
Yeah.
Where it's like you have now enchanted your enemy's sword. It's called Unruly Weapon. And now their sword is literally trying to like buck out of their hands the whole time they're wielding it. Or you can do it to their armor, which is causing them to like trip over themselves and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So like you can be a Chaos Monkey and just have the weird lol so random magic, but direct it towards your enemies and be a very effective and helpful member of the team and progress the story along. And then you get looked at as this weird kind of trickster, prankster style character or a manipulator of fate.
Right.
So either way, you can flavor it two separate ways and just have this really fun character that gets to do those wacky things, gets to just relentlessly bully the enemy.
And then there's also the idea of like you can still prank your other NP or your other PCs, but like in non-harmful ways.
Yeah.
Like at least not harmful to the overall goal. Like if your character's trying to do something and you cast Bane on them.
Yeah.
Like why would you do that if they're trying to do something helpful?
Yeah, so if it's in a silly, like more lighthearted moment, like, oh hey, this guy's gonna be in like Lolander's in a drinking contest. I'm gonna cast Bane on him because
For his constitution
that guy
check or something.
gets
Yeah.
that guy does so many great things. Like, he needs to be knocked down a peg. Like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna cast Bane on my party member and then be like, oh no, you lost how much gold? What a bummer! Like,
Right. Yeah.
haha, funny.
Or like you use Mage Hand to tie someone's bootlaces
Exactly.
together.
Goofy stuff like that. But like when it's a serious moment
Yeah.
and somebody's having to make like a severe saving throw or
Right.
like an acrobatics or athletics check to not fall off of the roof and get impaled, and they're like, oh, nat 20, like, I got silvery barbs. If you're doing that at your table, I know we always say there's no wrong way of playing D&D, but that's the wrong way to play. Like, if you are hampering, the only wrong way to play is if you are intentionally hampering the fun of your other players.
Yeah.
Like,
That's when I would give, as a DM, my whole party plus the DM the spell Banishment.
oh no, you ended up in pandemonium. What a bummer. That sucks. Well, it only lasts for a minute. You think you're
if you lose concentration.
You think you're gonna survive for a minute?
But yeah, so there's just a way to do things that doesn't hurt everyone around you, but yeah.
Yeah, so silvery barbs lets you force somebody to re-roll a check.
Yeah.
And then you take that luck energy that you like drew out of them, and then you can put that towards another check of your choice.
Mm-hmm.
And then shield is basically just like, I'm about to get absolutely slapped by this dude. I'm going to cast shield and give me a +5 to my AC, and hopefully it misses.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think at this point we should just kind of get into our real quick honorable mentions and then get into second level, and then we can kind of wrap this up.
Yeah.
My first honorable mention, or only honorable mention, because there's too many really just first level spells are just so incredibly good. Like I don't know, they're just really good. So it's hard to narrow it down to your tops and your honorable mentions, but I'm gonna go with one. And it's also from Kobold Press's Deep Magic.
Okay.
It's a spell called Candle's Insight. It is a first level divination spell that basically just gives you the ability, like, you do this little ritual, you light a candle in between you and the target of the spell, and then you just ask them questions. And if they're telling you the truth, candle burns as normal. If they kind of start misleading you and telling you some like half truths and stuff like that, the candle will start like flickering and dimming and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And if they tell you an outright lie, it like flares and then goes out and the spell ends.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's this really nice like way to interrogate people without, having to be the brutal, like, I'm going to hit you until you tell me what I want to know. It's like I'm going to set this down and I'm going to know if you're telling me the truth or not. And if you start lying to me, things are going to get bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's a fairly situational spell. It's not going to come up super duper often in your campaign. It's not going to be like the go-to, like, oh, I'm going to use this like every 2 sessions. But when you do have the opportunity to use that, you do have an interrogation, and you don't even have to tell your target that you're casting this spell. You just set them down and, hey, I wanted to ask you a few questions, and then you just light this little candle and do your little thing, and they're like, well, this is kind of a weird romantic setting. And then you just start asking them questions, and then they decide to lie to you, and the candle flares and goes out. Now they're sitting in darkness with you, and you just, I know you're lying.
Yeah. Little intimidation tactic.
Exactly.
And or surprise round.
Exactly. Like, I know you're lying to me. I'm going to give you 1 chance to correct the record.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, okay, well, that's creepy.
Yeah. And it kind of can, I feel like it could couple with Zone of Truth or things like that, where like they're compelled to, or they're like, they're compelled to tell the truth, but they can skirt around it.
Yeah.
And the candle will tell you when they are.
Yeah. The only problem is when, like, if I could say I cast it on you,
Mm-hmm.
if you say something that is a lie, but you believe it, like you think it's true,
right?
it doesn't detect it as a lie.
Yeah,
It's
that's
like
true.
it's kind of like a polygraph where it's like, no, you believe that it's accurate.
Yeah.
It's not magic or divination in the sense of, okay, it's gonna figure out that you just lied to me
Right. Yeah. I was
unknowingly.
I was gonna make a joke and be like, Blake, why are you lighting a candle right now?
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it, Dan. Where did you hide the bodies?
Just stay silent.
Why did the candle go out?
Why is it so dark in here?
Yeah. So let's get to your honorable mention, and then we'll
All
hit our second level spells.
My honorable mention has got to be Tasha's hideous laughter.
Nice.
I absolutely love the way you can flavor this particular spell, because I've seen it done before in Critical Role, where Sam Riegel, who plays in this particular sense, he was playing a goblin character named Not the Brave, and so for whenever he would cast this spell, he would tell a joke,
Yeah.
and if it succeeded, they would start laughing at the joke. And so like he had jokes prepared for every situation. Like he would come up with them as they're going through combat or whatever, and it's just like, oh, like it takes so much forethought and creativity to do that.
Oh yeah.
That's just like it's an amazing spell, and it makes the target of it be incapacitated for I want to say a minute, or until it breaks it, like it, because it can make more wisdom saving throws to break it at the end of its turn.
Well, yeah, and
But-
also, if I'm not mistaken, if they take any damage, then they also get to make the saving
Right,
throw,
right.
and it's possible they get to make it with advantage. It's been a while since I actually read that spell.
Well, I have it right here. I can read it.
Oh, hey.
A creature of your choice that you can see within range perceives everything as hilariously funny and falls into fits of laughter if this spell affects it. The target must succeed on a wisdom saving throw or fall prone, becoming incapacitated and unable to stand for the duration. A creature with an intelligence score of 4 or less isn't affected.
They
so
just don't find it
They
funny.
just don't understand.
So,
the
so
joke. Yeah.
you're not going to be going and casting it on a dire wolf, and having the dire wolf have a giggling fit because it's like it doesn't know what you just said, dude.
Yeah. And then at the end of each of its turns, and each time it takes damage, the target can make another wisdom saving throw. The target has advantage on the saving throw if it's triggered by damage. So
There you go. Okay.
On a success, the spell ends. But yeah, that's definitely one of my favorites. Didn't make the top list, but it's definitely on the list.
Yeah, the first time I ever encountered that spell was also listening to a podcast of there was a bard. He was an asinine centaur,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a pirate themed campaign.
Oh,
And when he cast the spell, he literally, like, the player reached into his pocket and pulled out a joke book. It was called 101 Argful Jokes.
That's awesome.
So he pulls it out and tells a dad joke,
Mm-hmm.
like just this really cringy, punny pirate joke. And the DM was like, guy brought props. I'm going to give this dude disadvantage on the saving throw on that because
okay.
You brought props. and then that just became a theme throughout the game where nobody else did. It's just this one bard kept, like, every now and then, like, he would just bring props.
Mm-hmm.
Like at one point he had to do like a bard battle with somebody else where they were like storytelling.
Yeah.
And so the DM had like written out the tale that this other bard was telling him, and then like they were going back and forth and taking turns, right?
Oh no.
Well, DM finishes his little spiel and kind of looks over at the guy, and he's just grinning. He's like, "What are you doing?" He pulls a freaking boombox out
Oh no.
and sets it on the table and puts a CD in there where he had recorded music for his background
Oh.
and told a story and the like it's showing him throughout the thing, and he looks all smug and happy, and then it cut back to the DM, and he's just sitting there with his head in his hands, just trying to hold it together, and he's like, I hate you so much. This is beautiful. You have advantage. Roll performance.
Again, this is why I love this game so much.
Yeah.
Is because the way you can flavor things, the way you can just bring that creativity to it, it just amazes me.
It's beautiful. But yeah.
Oh man.
So let's hop into second level spells.
All right.
I didn't literally mean hop.
Oh dang it.
So I'm only gonna go with one, and I'm gonna go different than what I've been doing.
Okay.
Where I've been doing a whole lot of utilitarian spells and stuff like that. And I'm just going to go with this spell that just, if you have access to it, take the spell.
Yeah.
Just, if you can worm your way into getting this spell, if you can take it, just take it. Like it's going to change your combat so much.
Oh.
And that is spiritual weapon.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Guys, this it's a cleric spell, but paladins or specifically conquest paladins and divine soul sorcerers can get access to it.
Yeah.
Essentially, you get to summon a spiritual weapon. Wow, it does what it says on the box.
Not like chill touch.
Yeah, not like chill touch.
We already covered that.
Great spell. Dumb name.
Yeah.
Cast a bonus, or it costs a bonus action to cast it, so it's already upping your action economy because you can run in and make an attack or something like that, and then bonus action spell. And then when you cast it, from then on, you can use a bonus action on each of your turns to have the weapon attack.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's not like a slouch of an attack. It's a D8 plus your spellcasting modifier for a bonus action. And then if you upcast it, it increases by a D8 for every level above second. Yeah. So if you cast this at a higher spell slot, which might not be the best because then you're burning a higher spell slot, but you're getting a significant amount of damage plus your spellcasting modifier.
Yep.
Every single round in addition to what you're already doing. And what's crazy about this one that makes it just even better, because it already wasn't good enough, apparently. It's not a concentration spell.
I was just about to ask that too, because I thought it was a concentration, but it's not. Yeah.
So you can do these really interesting combos, like with one of the Divine Soul Sorcerer characters that I played as, where you can throw up a spiritual weapon and then do, whatever you're going to do in your turn. And then in your next little go, you can cast something like Spirit Guardians, which is concentration. So now you have this aura of death around you. You can cast your little cantrips each turn, and then you just have these two absolute monster of spells going off around you. And what I liked to do with him is, okay, I'm going to cast Spiritual Weapon and do a cantrip, because as we've already talked about, the rules is written, you can cast a spell and then you can cast a cantrip. That is a bonus action.
Right.
We do it. It's either way. Yeah. If one of them's a bonus action, whatever. And so I would do like Shocking Grasp and Spiritual Weapon my first turn.
Mm-hmm.
Second turn, Shocking Grasp, and then, or I would cast Spirit Guardians and then hit him with the Spiritual Weapon.
Yeah.
And then third turn, I'd run in and just hit him with like Inflict Wounds.
Yeah.
And then they'd be taking the damage from the Spirit Guardians floating around me, and then get to hit him with a Spirit Weapon. And some DMs will allow it to be, okay, this is acting as though it's a creature. So just position it behind your opponent, and now you have flanking.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, so now I'm making that Inflict Wounds melee spell attack with advantage. And Inflict Wounds does a lot of damage.
Yep.
And then I get to hit him with a bonus action for
with
another
advantage.
With advantage for another, possibly, I think at that point I only had access to third level spells. So 2d8 damage, force damage, which is good damage type. It's not often resisted. And then however much Spirit Guardians is in radiant damage. And it's just an absolute bomb
Yeah,
to be able to combo whatever concentration spell you've got and then throw in Spirit Weapon
Mm-hmm.
or Spiritual Weapon, because it's a bonus action to cast, so you're not losing a whole lot in your action economy, and then it's not concentration.
Yeah.
Which also means you're not going to lose concentration on it. So unless somebody casts a spell magic, it's not ending early.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you're going to get full use out of that spell. It's so unbelievably good. Like, I know pretty much all of my other spells that I've talked about this episode have been utilitarian and, fun, wacky stuff that you get to play with. And then I got to second level and I'm just like, I gotta do this one. It's a damage spell, it's a combat spell.
Yeah.
But it's so good.
The cool thing too about that one though is that it is also one you can flavor.
Yeah.
Because I've seen it done where you can flavor the spiritual weapon as whatever you want. You could have it appear as a chainsaw.
Yeah.
You can have it appear as a big old lollipop.
Yep.
Like that's what Laura Bailey did in Critical Role Season 2 was big old lollipop and or a lollipop with razor edges. Crazy stuff you can do with an apparated weapon.
Yeah, one of the guys in the Prince Division, which is on the Unexpectables, he was obsessed with ice cream. And so he had it manifest as this giant ice cream cone that would just bludgeon people. The character I was just talking about, he fancied himself a melee fighter.
Mm-hmm.
And so when he cast Spiritual Weapon, it was this weird radiant other version of himself that would like come out of him, and then they would just sit there and like, double team
Pummel,
whatever. Yeah. And then throw in Spirit Guardians and inflict wounds. And I mean, the guy's spellcasting focus was brass knuckles.
Yeah. Yep. Nice.
It's just such a good spell. If you're looking to build like a really good damage character and you can get that weapon or that spell, just don't think about it too much. Just get it. And honorable mention for that one is probably, like, as far as damage dealers and stuff, is probably something like Flaming Sphere, where you can also move it around as a bonus action, but it's just different.
Yeah,
it's just different.
Nice. So funny thing is that with you going all combat on second level, I'm going utilitarian.
Ooh. Is it Pass Without Trace?
It is.
Oh my gosh. That was my other honorable mention.
That is literally, I feel like, one of the best spells in D&D.
Yeah.
Because
it's
if
good.
if you are trying to get somewhere stealthy, throw up Pass Without a Trace, you get a +10 bonus on your roll.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Well, if you've got a rogue that has double proficiency in stealth, like, for example, let me pull up Worm. He's not a rogue, he's a ranger, but he already has a +10 to stealth.
Yeah. Lalander too.
Yeah. So have him and like Ozzy sneaking around.
Mm-hmm.
Both of them have double proficiency in stealth.
Yeah.
They can scout ahead. They can sneak around where they need to and then throw in Pass Without Trace. And it's like, okay, well, I have a flat +20. As long as there's somewhere to hide.
Yeah.
They're hidden.
Yeah. Like, you can roll a 2 and still be absolutely hidden.
Still roll higher than most people's like modifiers will get them if they roll a 19.
Yeah. So I like to say, and I know you've heard me say this before, but if I have Pass Without a Trace on and I have my static +10, if I roll anywhere above, I would even say 5, I say I've stealthed into my next campaign.
Yeah. Well, and consider the fact that Lalander, we repurposed, because he's a wood elf, but you're playing Icewind Dale. We repurposed the woodland, it's like woodland camouflage or whatever.
Yeah.
Into boreal.
Arctic, yeah.
So now he gets that if he's in like a tundra setting, because his clothing is kind of made out of Yeti fur and stuff like that. So he's
very white and
he's
blue
really
and,
good at hiding in the snowfields and the tundra and the mountains and stuff like that of Icewind Dale. So now you have advantage and Pass Without Trace and double proficiency in stealth and it's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
And it's just like, later on with Worm, because of the subclass that he's taking, he'll be able to stay still and turn invisible.
Mm-hmm.
So now he's invisible, so he made his own hiding spot. He doesn't have to have one.
Yep.
And as long as he doesn't move, he stays invisible. And then plus 20 to his stealth with Pass Without Trace.
Yeah.
You're not going to find that guy.
No.
Like, I understand D&D is not like Skyrim. You can't just crouch in the middle of an open room and then be like, I'm going to roll a stealth check. That's not how it works. You have to have somewhere to hide. You have to be able to obscure yourself, all that jazz.
Yeah. With Worm, you dang well
Yeah.
might be able to just crouch.
Well, I mean, it literally is, if I spend my action doing nothing,
Yep.
I take no movement, I turn invisible. And I stay that way until I take an action to do something.
Yeah.
Or I move. So it's just like I'm snooping around in a room. Somebody's coming in there. Unless they have true sight.
Yeah.
Or see invisibility. Like or something like blind sense where they're going to be able to like smell you or something.
Yeah.
Like, all he has to do is just stop moving when he hears the door start opening. Just freeze, pull a cronk, back up against the wall. Exactly. And then just not move until the coast is clear. And he's golden. Dude's got a plus 20 to his stealth.
Yep.
Level him up in rogue a few levels. And then he gets reliable talent where he cannot roll below a 10. Oh, so the lowest you can roll on stealth is a 30. And of course, by that point, your proficiency bonus is higher.
Yeah.
So it's just...
I just remember listening to the Vox Machina show and how high Vax rolled on some of his stealth rolls. It was just like, it's like 45.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, you just disappeared. Like,
well, how do you deal with that? Unless my guy rolls a nat 20 on perception, he's not finding you. And yes, I understand.
Even that sometimes can.
Well, I understand. Rules as written, you don't crit on ability checks. Right. We have established of this before. We don't use that rule.
Yeah.
But like, okay, you're stealthing. The Beholder might have rolled a 19, but
yeah. And again, like,
what good does that do?
Like you said, though, there is a certain point of, like, say you're dealing with werewolves who have keen hearing and keen smell.
Yep.
Like, they might be able to smell you.
Yeah.
So like there is that certain line where you can kind of fudge it a little bit.
Yeah. And you as the player would have to think of that proactively and go, okay, I'm dealing with werewolves. Wolves have really good scent. I'm going to try to do something to mask my scent. Yeah. And that's where something like prestidigitation could come in handy, where you're just like, I'm going to make, the whole area, like, I'm just going to make me smell like the stone around me.
Yeah. Yeah, that works.
Now, you would have to think about that and do it very quickly, because as the DM, I'd be like, you have like 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Tell me what you're doing.
Yep. Well, thanks for giving me ideas for later.
You don't have prestidigitation as the Lalander.
Hey, maybe I, go into wizard a little bit. Who knows?
So you're going to do ranger, barbarian, and wizard.
With a low intelligence.
With intelligence as your dump stat.
Hey, it could happen.
Sounds like I don't think you meet the multi-class requirements for wizard. That's like me saying I'm going to be playing as Worm and I'm going to multi-class into Warlock. No, you aren't. Your charisma's an 8. It's not happening, Chief. Which we can get into multi-classing in a different episode.
Yeah. So final one for this one, honorable mentions. I'm gonna just go with Misty Step.
Yep.
Misty Step, I think, is a amazing one where you can just teleport. Teleportation is amazing.
Yep.
That's why I loved, like, and this is a little bit off of Misty Step, but with the ghost bow that you gave me for Lalander, he can shoot a spot and teleport there. Like, it's basically the same thing, just with a little bit of extra action to it.
Yep.
But yeah, Misty Step is my final one.
Pop quiz, Dan.
Yes.
How do you get the 2nd level spell Misty Step as a first level character?
That's a good question. I do not know.
Variant human, Fey touched.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Okay.
Yeah. I saw that at one point and was like, wait a minute. That's a second level spell. But it's not using a spell slot.
Yeah.
You just
It's
You
how
just-
many times per day though? Is it
it's once per
Just
day.
once per day.
It's
Yeah.
once per day. But at first level, any kind of teleportation is fantastic.
Right. Yeah.
You know, your DM's probably not planning for a first level character to be able to Nightcrawler
Yeah.
once a day. And it's like, oh no, you're stuck here. Oh, what are you gonna do? Well, I'm gonna cast Misty Step. You can't cast that. You're first level. And you're a fighter. Yeah, but I'm Fey touched. Oh no.
Does it up like for leveled spell or not leveled like when you level up, does it upcast in a way or
No, so it's
not
a
upcast, but like can you do it more than once a day?
no, but I believe if I'm not mistaken, it gets like if you're a spellcaster, it gets added to your known spells.
Right.
So it's possible that you take, Fey touched, and then when you get second level spell slots, okay, well now I can use my second level spell slots to be able to cast it again.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. And it won't count against your prepared or whatever
Gotcha.
spells.
Okay. Cool.
I could be wrong on that, so don't quote me.
So for this topic, we're gonna do something that no D&D party will ever let you do, or ever recommend that you do.
You mean no DM will ever recommend that you do?
Correct. Yeah. We're going to split the partsies.
Ha!
And
I get it.
I get it. So we're only covering today up to second level spells.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna make this into a little mini series and go through the multi levels of spells in different episodes.
Yeah.
But for now, this will be the end of this episode.
Yep.
So thanks for listening to Critical Friendship. If you have any questions concerning anything we discussed today, you can email us at criticalfriendshipPodcast@gmail.com or comment on our Instagram at Critical Friendship Podcast. And we'll try to answer as many as we can on our next episode.
Join us next time where we will be having one long, loud, monotone beeping sound followed by the sounds of your childhood.
But as for now, dang it, I rolled a nat one on giving the outro.